In this video, we're going to take a look at how to unpick stitches from a cover stitch machine. So cover stitch machines work differently than regular straight stitch machines or lock stitch machines, which are locking the stitches. These stitches from a cover stitch are chaining, so they're chained together, which means if we unpick them just the right way, we'll actually be able to unthread the whole line of stitching all at once really simply. So let's take a look first at our 3-thread, which is again 2 needles on top and 1 thread covering underneath. So we're going to start on the right side of the fabric, or the correct side of the fabric facing out. And we're going to choose a couple of stitches here, and we're going to unpick about 4 pairs of stitches that are directly across from each other. Let's do that. Now it's really important that you unpick them parallel, because if one is unpicked ahead of another, it won't release the right way on the back, which you are going to see in just a second here. So again, let's unpick about 4. Great. And then we're ready to come to the back side. And we've got our lower looper or bobbin type thread. And see how that is just starting to unravel totally on its own. So again, we only needed to unpick about 3 or 4 stitches on the correct side of the fabric. And then we're able to literally just pull this thread off because it's chained together in a way that allows us to release it. So after we release the back, we can come back to the front here. We can actually pull this all the way off because there's no reverse, so there's nothing locking that in place. And then we can come back to the front and literally just pull these threads directly off. So now it's like it never even happened. We can unwind the stitches this way any amount of times. It's really just dependent on the fabric. See, because we have a few holes there still, but those can be pressed out and we can just try the whole thing again. Now that was a 3-thread. It works exactly the same on a 5-thread, but we have to be a little more discerning about picking the needle threads. So just try to disregard that upper covering stitch, and I like to try to get those 3 stitches from all 3 needles straight across and cut. And I stretch the fabric like that because it helps the needle kind of pop out of place, which is what we want because we're really trying to undo something in this case. And again, I'm going to go and try to unpick 3 or 4 whole sets of stitches, and then I'm going to come to the reverse side and gently use my seam ripper to start pulling that thread. Now, I started in the middle of this seam so that you could see. In one direction, it just catches immediately. You see that? It's not going to keep going. These threads need to be pulled in the opposite direction of how they were sewn. And sometimes we can't tell what direction that was. So instead, I like to start in the middle of the seam so that whichever direction is the correct direction, it will just start to unravel on its own like that. Isn't that incredible? It just pulls right off. And again, we can do that all the way to the beginning and then just cut that thread. And then the same on the front. We can literally lift these threads right off because they are being held together by that thread at the back, which means there is nothing chaining them all together anymore. It's like it never even happened. So again, picking the stitches from the correct side, no matter if it's 3-thread or 5-thread, and then carefully, gently unraveling from the reverse side. And if you get caught, stretching the fabric helps those threads pop out of their little casings. Next, we're going to take a look at how to do this on the machine before we've even completed the seam. So now we're here over at the machine and we start stitching and everything's going great, but then, oh my God, we're like way off. Oh, it's awful. So I can see already that, wow, that looks terrible. I'm going to have to unpick that later anyway. Well, right here at the machine, we actually have the option to basically rewind right now, what we're going to do is feel the direction that the hand wheel is moving when it's going the right way. Now, go one full rotation on the hand wheel all the way back. One full rotation, so the arm will go all the way over and all the way back. Then, gently lift the presser foot, pull the fabric out the back like we normally would, but because we went that full rotation in the wrong direction, we now can actually start unwinding those stitches right away. Look at that. So we can undo that whole wavy mess right here, sitting right at the machine without even getting the seam ripper out. We can just take it all off and literally just cut it and start again. Cut all of this mess off and start right back again. And that applies to both the five thread and the 3 thread. It doesn't matter how many needles or threads. This rotation of one full rotation on the hand wheel in the opposite direction will allow us to unlock those stitches.